little deeper into the housing crisis that you see. Like, how did you speak about that in the campaign, and like, what are the solutions that you've been working towards to really address this systemic, structural issue that's very complicated?
Right. You didn't have to really go that far into the housing crisis. I mean, people just can't afford the rent. It's very simple. They can't afford the rent and they can't afford to buy. So what does that mean for generational wealth? What does that mean for generations in a neighborhood? That means, we're finding that young people who would love to come back to the neighborhoods they grew up in have no home and no space because they can't afford to do it. So unless they were one of the lucky ones whose families own something, they are not coming back. And so we're losing a generation of Bostonians who grew up here in our neighborhoods. But more importantly, we're becoming less and less welcoming to individuals such as myself who came here. I was, fresh out of law school, just going to start my first job, going to try and make it in a big city. And at the time, the rent was affordable. There's no way I could do that now. There's no way I could move into Boston right now, fresh out of law school, and try to make it, or work for legal services or work in social justice in this city. It's shameful. And so we're dealing with a crisis that's chasing away newcomers and also keeping away a new generation of Bostonians. And, and everyone feels that across all racial lines, across all class lines even. We're finding folks who are making six-figure salaries who are saying, I can't afford a $600,000 condo, one bedroom. This does nothing for me. So we have this crisis. And so what we need for this crisis, we do need to build, but we need to build for the individuals that we want to be part of our neighborhood. Building alone, just for the sake of building, assures that we will set ourselves up to create more, I call them pieces of stock, for the speculator class in our housing. We are not building for families. We are not building for our middle class. We're not building for workers. And until we do, you can build all you want. It doesn't trickle down. Housing doesn't trickle down. It is a segmented market. So if you want prices for student housing to go down, you build student housing. Building student housing doesn't help families, though, and their prices to go down. You need to build more family housing. And that's what I think a lot of folks get confused. And there's certainly a division even amongst progressives. There's my friends who are YIMBYs, and those are my friends who are, I guess YIMBYs would call them NIMBYs. Those are yes in my backyards versus no in my backyards. And densers who build anything and everything and build as much as possible, because then eventually prices will, they adopt a market strategy that, the more product that you create, the cheaper it will be. You can create all the housing you want, and all it's doing is inviting people who don't live here to come here, which is fine, but you're not actually helping those who live here get any cheaper in terms of their rent. So we proposed, for example, a luxury transfer fee in Boston. It's a home rule petition. We need to pass it at City Council that would increase, or on every sale, $2 million or more that is not an owner-occupied building. These are literally investment properties that are sold for $2 million or more. There would be a 6% fee added to it, and that would generate, I think the number reported, and what we are comfortable with is about $400 million, based on the sales a year, based on the sales trends for the last 4 years. So we just keep doing that. If we were to just reduce that, or I think if we were to just do commercial properties and stay away from residential altogether, we could over $100 million.